Hello students, welcome to geography class. Today we'll start chapter 20 atmospheric moisture. Today we'll study from page number 303 to page number 307. First of all, let us see the objectives of the chapter. In this chapter, we'll study number 1, moisture in the atmosphere. Number 2, evaporation, factors controlling the rate of evaporation. Number 3, humidity, kinds of humidity. Number 4, factors affecting relative humidity. Number 5, importance of relative humidity. Number 10, classification of rainfall. Number 11, distribution of rainfall. And at last, we will study monsoon winds, areas of monsoon winds, and the factors affecting the monsoon winds. Number 6, horizontal distribution of relative humidity. Number 7, condensation, forms of condensation. Number 8, clouds, classification of clouds. Number 9, precipitation, forms of precipitation. The objectives of today's class are: number 1, moisture in the atmosphere. Number 2, evaporation and the factors controlling the rate of evaporation. Number 3, humidity, kinds of humidity. Number 4, factors affecting relative humidity. Number 5, importance of relative humidity. And at last, we'll study the horizontal distribution of relative humidity. Moisture in the atmosphere is found in the form of water vapor, liquid water, and ice. Moisture moves from the Earth's surface to the atmosphere and from atmosphere to the Earth's surface through water cycle. Atmospheric moisture is expressed as clouds, precipitation, storms, fronts, and other phenomena. Water moves from the surface of the earth to the atmosphere through the process of evaporation, where liquid water becomes water vapor. Most evaporation occurs over the oceans, but a significant amount of evaporation occurs over lakes, streams, and other surface water. Water also gets into the atmosphere from moisture released by moist soil and by the plants through their leaves by the process of transpiration. Now, let us discuss the technical terms that are coming in today's chapter. The first term is moisture. The amount of water vapor present in the atmosphere is termed as moisture. Number 2, precipitation. The process by which the condensed water fall on the earth in the form of rainfall, snowfall, hailstones, etc. Evaporation. The process by which water changes into water vapor. Number 4, hydrological cycle. The continuous flow of water from land to the atmosphere and from atmosphere to the land is called hydrological cycle or water cycle. Transpiration. The process by which the leaf of plants release moisture. Latent heat. The heat energy released or absorbed during the change of state of a matter. It means that when water changes into water vapor, heat is absorbed, or when water vapor changes into water, heat is released. So this heat is called latent heat. 7. Humidity. The amount of water vapor present in the air is called humidity. Saturated air, the air which has the maximum amount of water vapor that it can hold at a given temperature. Saturation point, the temperature at which the air gets fully saturated, means fully moist. Absolute humidity, the actual amount of humidity present in the air is termed as absolute humidity. Specific humidity, it is the ratio of the mass of water vapor in the air to the total mass of the mixture of air and the water vapor. Relative humidity, the ratio between the actual amount of humidity, that is absolute humidity, present in the air to the maximum amount of humidity that air can hold at that temperature. And the last term is weather forecasting. Prediction of the future weather of a place is called weather forecasting. Let us start the chapter from page 303, moisture in the atmosphere. Moisture in the atmosphere comes through evaporation from water bodies. It is present in the three forms: gaseous, that is in the form of water vapor; liquid form, that is in the form of water droplets or raindrop; solid, in the form of ice crystals. Although water vapor is found in small proportion in the atmosphere, yet it is very important in determining the weather and climate. Let us see how significant is the moisture in the atmosphere. Water vapor present in the air cause precipitation, that is rainfall, snowfall, hailstones, drizzle or sleet. We will discuss about all these forms of precipitation in detail in the further classes. Water vapor absorbs radiation and regulates the loss of heat from the earth. The amount of water vapor present decides the quantity of latent heat that is stored in the atmosphere for growth of storms. Most of the evaporation takes place from the oceans, rivers, lakes, ice fields and glaciers, which together comprises nearly 75% of Earth's surface. In addition, evaporation also takes place from moist ground through transpiration, from plants, animals, through respiration. The condensed water, they give rise to rainfall, snowfall or hailstones. Thus, there is a continuous exchange of water between the oceans, the atmosphere and the continents through evaporation, transpiration, condensation and precipitation. This unending cycle of water on the earth is called water cycle or hydrological cycle. Now, we will study about evaporation. The process by which water is transformed from liquid to vapor or gas is known as evaporation. About 600 calories of energy are required to convert 1 gram of water into water vapor. This is known as latent heat. As we have discussed in terms also, that the amount of heat which is absorbed or released when water changes into water vapor or water vapor changes into water is called latent heat. The rate of evaporation keeps on changing from place to place and from time to time. Let us see the factors that control the rate of evaporation. The first factor is temperature. The higher the temperature, the more is the rate of evaporation. Evaporation in the tropical zone is much higher than the polar zone because the temperature in the tropical zone is quite higher than the polar zones. Second factor is dryness of air. Dry air has a larger potential of absorbing and retaining water vapor as compared to wet air. So, evaporation is more in the dry air and less in the wet air. Clouds. Clouds act as a blanket for incoming solar radiation. So, if clouds are there, then the evaporation will be less from the land, whereas if the sky is not cloudy, if the sky is clear, there will be more evaporation from the water surfaces. Size of the water area. the larger the area of water, more will be the rate of evaporation. Means evaporation takes place more from the oceans than from the rivers or lakes. The last factor that affects the rate of evaporation is movement of air. Movement of air replaces the saturated layer of air with the unsaturated layer, which has a greater capacity to absorb moisture. Hence, the greater the movement of air, the greater is the rate of evaporation. Now, we'll study about humidity and the types of humidity in detail. Humidity in general is the amount of water vapor present in the air. It is measured in gram per cubic meter. At any specific temperature, the quantity of moisture can be held by the air has a definite limit. This limit is called saturation point. Means saturation point is the temperature at which the air is fully moist. The air that has reached to the saturation point is called saturated air. Means the air which has maximum amount of moisture that it can hold is called saturated air. The capacity of absorbing water vapor by the air increases with temperature. Now we have three types of humidity. The first is absolute humidity, that is the actual amount of humidity present in the air. It is expressed in gram per cubic meter of the air. The second type of humidity is specific humidity. It is the weight of water vapor per unit air. It is expressed as proportion or ratio of mass of water to the total mass of air. It is not affected by the change of pressure or change of temperature. The third kind of humidity is relative humidity, which is most important for the study of weather and climate. Relative humidity is the ratio of water vapor present in the air to the maximum amount of water vapor that air can hold at the given temperature. It is always expressed in percentage. Relative humidity is derived by using a simple formula that is given in your book. Relative humidity is equal to the actual amount of humidity present in the air at the given temperature upon the maximum amount of water vapor that the air needs to become saturated, multiplied by 100. Multiply by 100 because we want to take out the percentage. Now, let us see how can we calculate the relative humidity of the air by using this formula. Suppose the actual humidity of air is 25 gram at a temperature of suppose 35 degrees Celsius. But the maximum capacity of the air to hold the moisture is 50 gram. So, by using the formula, we can calculate that relative humidity of the air is equal to the actual amount of humidity that is 25 gram which is present in the air upon maximum humidity that it can hold is 50 gram. So, upon 50 gram multiply by 100 because it is expressed in ratio. So, we can see here that after calculation we are getting relative humidity is equal to 50%. It means that air is 50% moist and it can hold 50% more moisture. Now, let us see which are the two factors that affect relative humidity. The first factor on which the relative humidity depends is amount of water vapor. The amount of water vapor in the air increases due to evaporation, and the relative humidity also increases. Means the more the water vapor, the more is the relative humidity in the air. The second factor is temperature of the air. Relative humidity increases with the fall in temperature but decreases when the temperature rises. It means that relative humidity is inversely proportional to temperature. The relative humidity of saturated air is 100%. When the air is saturated, it means that when the air is holding maximum amount of humidity that it can hold, at that time rainfall starts. So relative humidity is very important for weather forecasting. In this table, we can see that the air has the absolute humidity of 7 gram, and the maximum amount of humidity that air can hold is also 7 gram. Then relative humidity is 100%. It means that air is fully saturated and now it will start raining. But if the absolute humidity, that is actual humidity of the air, is 7 gram, but the maximum amount of humidity it can hold is 9 gram, then the relative humidity is 77.8%. Here chances of rainfall is there. But if the relative humidity comes to be 50% or 35% or 25%, then the chances of rainfall is not there. So in this way, relative humidity is very important for weather forecasting. Now we'll discuss about the importance of relative humidity in various aspects. The first importance is on our health. If the relative humidity is more, it will lead to poor health conditions like high humidity coupled with high heat causes the mosquitoes to grow. Other insects, they also grow, which spread deadly diseases like malaria, diarrhea, typhoid, cholera, dysentery, jaundice, etc. But if the relative humidity is too low, then it is suitable for human existence. Relative humidity of 60% is good for living. The second importance of relative humidity is for forecasting of rain. As I have told, if the relative humidity is high or it increases, there is more chances of rainfall, and if it decreases, there is no chance of rainfall. The third importance is agricultural operation. It is possible to calculate the rate of evaporation with the help of relative humidity because humidity is inversely proportional to evaporation. Evaporation has great effect on the growth of plants and crops. It also affects the health of animals. Therefore, the knowledge of relative humidity is very essential for farmers for their agricultural occupations. Number 4, building material. It is necessary to take into account the relative humidity before constructing the buildings. Many types of materials begin to ferment or decay in high humidity. When the relative humidity is very low, the plaster develops cracks. Building material is selected according to the humidity of the place. Let us discuss the horizontal distribution of relative humidity on the earth. Relative humidity is maximum near the equator from 10 degree north to 10 degree south. Because this area has the highest temperature, so it has the highest rate of evaporation. The subtropical areas have moderate humidity because they have moderate temperature. As here the sun rays are not so vertical as it is in the equatorial region. The polar areas 75 degree north to 90 degree north and 75 degree south to 90 degree south. These areas have lowest humidity because here the sun rays are very oblique, due to which these areas have very low temperature. So here the rate of evaporation is quite low. So here the air is dry almost throughout the year. So we can say that maximum humidity is present in the equatorial area. The subtropical areas have moderate humidity and the polar areas have least humidity. With this, we complete our today's topic. Your homework is to go through exercise number 1, question number 1, first, second, third, fourth and fifth part, question number 3, question number 4, exercise second, question number 1, 2 and 3, exercise number 3, question number 1. Children, you have to write these 6 answers in your copy. Question number 1, what do you mean by atmospheric moisture? Number 2, what is the significance of atmospheric moisture? Question number 3, define evaporation. Describe the factors that affect the rate of evaporation. Question number 4, what do you mean by humidity? Name the 3 kinds of humidity. Explain each. Question number 5, explain the factors affecting relative humidity. What is the importance of relative humidity? And the last question is, describe the horizontal distribution of relative humidity. Hope you have understood the chapter. You must read the topic. You must see the given school link and YouTube link. Thank you very much.